Hello, Bookaholics. Today, our guest speaker is Teri Rizvi. And Teri has a lot of wonderful things to tell us about. Not only her debut book of personal essays, but she is going to tell us about a writer, a humorist of the past, Erma Bombeck, and the Writers Workshop that the University of Dayton puts on every 2 years. Stay tuned. You'll want to listen to this interview. How's it going, Teri?
It's not going too badly. How about you?
It's going pretty good. Welcome to the Bookaholic podcast, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Now, my audience is going to be really delighted on two fronts from you today. One, of course, you've written your debut book, and we're going to talk about that. But you're also the founder of a nationally known writers workshop, and we're going to get into that because that's based upon a person who has was extremely popular during my teenage years. That a lot of women really went to as a go-to for a little bit of laughter and humor. And I don't think a lot of the younger people know about this person, but she was very important. And I think you're doing good works in focusing on her. But first, let's just go back to your debut novel. So, debut book. What made you want to write a book, first of all?
Well, I direct the Erma Bombeck Writers Workshop, and it's 3 days of just laughter and inspiration. And I would be like any other writer who left that workshop really energized, wanting to write the book that you think you have within you. And
Mm-hmm.
I've written a number of personal essays over the years, and I thought, well, maybe I can compile my essays into a book. And you leave with that energy, and then life gets in the way. So that
Yeah,
happened to me a number of times.
yeah,
So finally, during the pandemic, my husband came down with a mild case of COVID,
yeah.
and I ran this crazy high fever for a few days, but I didn't have COVID supposedly. And I just thought, if not now, when? When am I going to do it?
Right, right.
So I just, when you reach out to the universe and ask for help, I think the universe answers you. So I reached out to some friends. I reached out to a friend of mine at the University of Dayton magazine, who I had hired actually at one point. And I said, I'm thinking about compiling my essays into a book, and I have a vision for the illustrations for it. Can you give me the name of someone? And she did, and Julie Loneman did such beautiful line drawings for the book. And then
Mm,
I reached out to a hybrid publisher that I know in town, David Brawler, to
mm-hmm.
ask him questions about self-publishing, because that's what I thought I was going to do. I would self-publish it. And he answered all
Right.
my questions. And then I had told him, any proceeds from the book, I'm going to direct right back into the Erma Bombeck Writers Workshop Endowment Fund, which we use to keep the event affordable for writers. And he
Right.
said, I'd like to give back to the workshop too. He had been on our faculty at one point, and he said, I can't really give you, a financial donation, but I can do this for you. So he, had a book designer. He got the copyright, he got the ISBN number, he got it up on Amazon and in markets around the world, actually, things that I knew nothing about. And it was incredibly helpful, and helped market it initially when we launched it. So that's kind of how it started. I wanted to pull my essays together in a book. The pandemic was the big driver. That was my
Mm-hmm.
pandemic project. And then
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone needs an editor. So I reached out from a friend in journalism school who needed some work, and she edited it for me. And I think you need a fresh eye to look at your stuff and tell you if it's good or bad, because you don't know. And then she suggested I write some new pieces, which I did, and I think that helped kind of frame the book and bookend it.
Wow. Okay, so that's quite a journey, and you, like so many others that I've interviewed and just people that I know, family and friends, the pandemic played a huge part um, of now where people are right now in their lives. Some
Exactly.
people could not stand it, and they didn't want to be tied down, but other people
Right.
found that, hey, what? I don't want to do X anymore. I
Right.
found that X does not bring me joy, and I'd rather do Y. Or
Right.
they just had an epiphany and said, hey, I've got this time on
I've
my
got this
hands,
time.
and why don't I use it? And
Yeah.
so, definitely and there's so many different stories that came out of the shutdown that
Yeah.
you just can't even name, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was definitely a universal thing, even though it was so horrible on one hand, definitely. But then it was just, I don't know, it was just an awakening for others that,
It was.
thank goodness survived
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So as we go along, and like you said, I truly believe in the universe and reaching out to the universe. And you've got people all around you all the time who can help you if only
Exactly.
you'll ask,
If
you
only you'll
know?
ask, or if only you'll tell them what you're doing. And it's just amazing the kind of
Yes,
support that you get from other people. And I'm a big
yes,
believer in collaboration and teamwork, and you bring out the best in people when you work that way.
yes, you really do, because it's definitely coming from a place of togetherness, almost respect, even love.
Right.
And nobody's threatened by that. And so that's why you
Exactly.
get such, such help from when you approach it that way. Now, so it's titled, what is the title of your book for our
It's
audience?
called One Heart with Courage: Essays and Stories. And the title comes from something that Martin Sheen said.
Mm, oh,
The University of Dayton gave him an honorary degree, and he
oh,
said, "One heart with courage is a majority." And I really like that because I think it says something about, if you believe in something strongly enough, even if you're the only one believing in it, you should move forward on it and not be afraid, not kowtow to pressure, societal pressure around you that not everyone holds this belief or whatever. And I think it works throughout the book in terms of the themes of the book, whether it's motherhood or faith, or particularly my marriage, which spans two cultures and two religions, and
mm-hmm,
a
mm-hmm.
number of continents, I should say. So my husband is originally from Pakistan, and
Yes,
so yes, I'm Catholic. He's Muslim. He was in his family had arranged a marriage for him. We met in London,
yes,
where he was going to school and working, and I went there for an internship after college, and decided to get married. And it was just at that time kind of a revolutionary sort of a thing. But,
yes.
but I think the book, when you look at our country and our world now in terms of the divisiveness, it offers a
Mm-hmm.
it offers hope, because people are people everywhere. And
That's right.
whereas in Pakistan, the average American may know nothing about the country except, a bomb exploded in a mosque somewewhere, or terrorism after 9/11. And
Right.
I've been able to see it through a family member's eyes. And when I first went there, I would write, because I'm a journalist by training, more like op-ed pieces. But then the
Right.
more we went, and when we had the boys, and those boys could do absolutely no wrong in my mother-in-law's eyes, um, that I began to look at it through the universal lens of motherhood and family,
Mhm.
and told stories in that way of a life that people, the average American, wouldn't honestly know about, because they don't travel to a country like that.
Right.
It's not
Exactly.
Switzerland.
No, 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 correct. And I remember being a lot younger, and you would hear about, say, a person of the Jewish faith married to a person of the Catholic faith. And at that
Right.
time, it was like, oh my gosh,
I
what in the
know.
world do they do? How do they do it? And
Exactly.
but like you said, people are people, and some of these. constructs, man-made constructs, really, some of them are.
Right.
It does not surpass love and
No,
connection to
it does.
another.
It does not. And I'll give my mother-in-law as an example. When she heard from her son that he was going to marry an American, her first
Yes.
words were, "You're no longer my son." And
Ah,
he made the mistake of telling me that. But in retrospect, when I look back on it, I understand as a mother, I understand exactly what she was
yeah.
saying. It was not about me. It was about fear. It was about I'm never going to see you again. And so that's why we tried so hard over the years to make the trip back. And our boys know their cousins so well over there and their aunts
Yeah.
and uncles and they know the world because they've traveled in the world. And I think
Mhm.
traveling is the greatest education, honestly, that you can ever experience.
It definitely is. It opens your eyes up to other people
Right,
and other cultures. It's a very fresh awakening.
right.
2019, my husband and my sons, which they're grown,
Mhm.
we went to Europe. We spent time, about a month, in Spain and Italy and
Yeah,
France and some of the other smaller countries like Monaco,
sure.
and, we had a wonderful time, and, we always hear that America is the greatest country on earth and all of this, which, I'm not disputing that America's not a great country when it wants to act right and one of opportunity,
Right.
but there's other great countries out there that you should see,
Yeah,
and there's great people out
great
there. There's
people. Right.
fantastic people out there that you may not speak their language,
Yeah.
but they're just funny and friendly and caring as anybody in the United States.
Yeah, there's a whole world outside your front door.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. So, definitely, I can see where you wanted to write an essay concerning your marriage because it is a little bit more unique of a construct than
Right.
other marriages because you married someone outside of your culture, outside of your
Correct.
country, etc. So, let's talk about another personal essay that you have in your book that a lot of people may get something out of.
Well, last summer, a friend of mine then this was the last piece that I wrote for the book. Last
Mhm.
summer, a friend of mine from high school died after being
Mm,
in intensive care and, on a ventilator and a trach. It
mm,
was not COVID. It was a series of problems that kind of started. And
mhm,
she's a little bit younger than I am. And so
mhm,
we had reconnected during the pandemic, as many people reconnect. Hadn't seen each
mhm,
other in years. She lived out in Reno, and I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So we were talking, and then told me that she had breast cancer, and then there were another series of issues that happened, and she ended up in the hospital. Um, and we had a FaceTime call before she died, and it was
mm.
just really poignant.
Yeah.
And then she died on July the 4th, Independence Day. So
Mhm,
I get a text from her longtime partner, and he writes to me that she had died that morning,
mhm.
which was not unexpected. I mean, we were
Right,
waiting on it, and I just thought,
right.
well, Independence Day, what a metaphor for kind of freedom, finally from everything that was ravaging her body. That
Yeah.
night, we were on it was Lake Michigan, and we were on the beach, and we had these sky lanterns
Mhm.
that we were going to light, and the first one that my husband pulled up was a memorial one,
Mm.
which a white one, which I had not
Mhm.
purchased. I bought these, and then I remembered, going. We were kind of negotiating the price on these, and the guy at the store must have just thrown in an extra one, and it was
Oh
on
my
top.
goodness.
And then my
Oh
son
my
said,
god.
and then my son said, "Wow, that's a God moment. I mean, what are the chances of
Yes.
that?" And so we lit it and kind of
Yeah.
said a silent prayer, and it was just very moving and touching, and I wrote about that experience.
Yes,
And
yes,
I think it's
definitely.
universal. I think the friendship is universal, and I think that that comes through those bonds of connection throughout the book.
Yes, yes, yes. So many times women, whether it's mothers and daughters or just if you look at some of the housewives shows, I mean, women can have these complicated relationships, and they can be beautiful, they can be bad. And, for you to reconnect with a person from high school,
Yeah,
sometimes, your friends from high school, they're totally dropped for the rest of your life. You never
right.
sometimes,
Never
depending
see it.
on
Right,
how you never see them again.
right.
So definitely that's speaks to me is to say, reach back and connect. You never know what's going on with a
You never know.
person,
You never know.
and to touch base with. I feel like as a person who is a believer, that was indeed a God moment, as your son said, about the
Yeah.
the lantern that you didn't even
I
select,
I
and that it
didn't
was
buy
there.
it. And it was there, right on top. You know,
Yes, yes, and
things things happen for a reason.
they do, and you do have to acknowledge these beautiful moments. I
Yes.
really love that, and so yes, I agree with that. So that sounds like definitely a book that all women, really all people, should read and check out your personal essays. And again, what the name of the book is.
One Heart with Courage, Essays and Stories. And it's actually gonna come out as an audiobook here in another week or so, for those who like to listen to their books.
That's a good thing to know. I'm just now getting into a little bit of the audiobooks. I have to really position myself to
Yeah,
to to be still and to listen to it
be
fully so that
present.
I won't miss.
Right. I agree.
Yes, yes, yes. That's definitely wonderful. And so that audiobook is to debut when?
It's done, so it's just that we're trying to get it, online now, so I would think within the week, it will
Oh,
be up.
wonderful.
Yeah, so it'll be up pretty
Wonderful.
soon. Yeah, so it's available
Okay.
as on Kindle and in paperback and then as an audiobook. And the person who did the audio is a professional narrator who also reached to me out of the blue and is doing it pro bono
Oh,
because
goodness.
to support this workshop. So, I mean,
Wow.
I'm just amazed at the amount of support I've gotten for this
Wow.
and
Wow, that
humbled
is
by that.
wonderful. Yes, most definitely. So now let me ask you before we delve into the workshop, do you plan on writing any other books?
I don't I co-edited a book last year, a humor book about sisters. It's called Sisters Bonded by
Yes.
Love and Laughter, and I worked with an editor on the West Coast, and we did it for the workshop. And that was a fun project. I think I'm taking a little break now to just take a breath. I do want to write more personal essays for publication, and we'll see what the future brings. But this was a goal of mine, kind of one of your bucket list things you want to do. And I wrote it for my two sons so and they're thrilled
Yes.
about it, so, it's all good.
Um, it seems like you are, as your spirit guides you to do different things, that's kind of like the path that you
Right,
may be on. If a book comes to you, you'll write it. If it doesn't,
right,
you won't.
right,
So
exactly.
yes, I understand that 100%. Now, so your day job, quote
Yes,
unquote, right?
right.
That you work for the University of Dayton. So tell us about your job at the University of Dayton.
Well, right now I'm working, directly with the president, and I write speeches, commencement addresses, blogs, some
Wow.
social media for him. He does a lot of social media on his own. In supposedly a part-time job. And then I also run the Erma Bombeck Writers Workshop. But for many years, like 26
Yeah,
years, I was the director of the Office of Public Relations at the University of Dayton. And then about 8 years ago, I
got
stepped into
you.
this part-time role, which gave me more time to concentrate on the workshop and also to do this book.
Yes. So now we're circling around the workshop. So
Yeah.
tell me how the Irma Bombeck. Oh, wait, let me pause.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, we'll go this way. So tell me how the Irma Bombeck workshop ties into the University of Dayton.
Well, Irma Bombeck graduated from the University of Dayton, as did her husband, Bill Bombeck. And so
Okay.
she's probably one of our most famous graduates. And she first heard the
Yeah.
words, if you're a writer, these are magical words. She said, I heard 3 magic words from my English professor. And he said, you can write. And so she said that was the impetus that she believed him. Because, many
Right.
writers, myself included, you don't know if you're good or not, And he told her, you're good. And she was writing humor at that time for the literary magazine at the university. And it just propelled her. It gave her the confidence to go out and do it. So
Wow.
the university was going to receive her papers back in 2000. And because she had died a few years earlier. And we thought it might be fun to kind of fashion this writer's workshop around the delivery of the papers, get some national media attention out of the fact that the university was going to be the repository for her official work. And it was so
Right.
much fun. It was so much fun. We had Art Buchwald there and Bill Keane, who's the cartoonist for Family Circus, who was a neighbor of the
Yeah.
Bombecks. And we laughed
Oh
for
my
3
God.
days. Yeah, we laughed for 3 days, and we just thought, well, we only envisioned it as a one-time event. So, because in my office, we're all writers, and we thought, well, we'll kind of do this, as a hobby in our spare time. We decided to do it in another 2 years, and we brought Phil Donahue in, and we had a
Oh,
couple thousand people listening to his speech. So, anyway, it took off, and every other year we do the workshop.
wow. That's phenomenal. Now, let's go back to who is Erma Bombeck? For those who have a wide-ranging audience, it has been some years now since Ms. Bombeck has written. I believe I was a teenager when she was at the height of her fame. She was a nationally syndicated writer. She was in just like her neighbor of the famous
Exactly.
person. I'm like, what kind of street did Bill Keane and Erma Bombeck live on? I
Well,
couldn't come to their street.
and it's crazy. When she lived in Dayton, she lived across the street from Phil Donahue. You know,
Oh
and then in Arizona, their neighbor was Bill Keane. So it's it's amazing.
wow. Wow. So
But yeah, you're
serendipity all around Erma
serendipity, right?
Bombeck.
She
Well,
was.
so now, go ahead.
I was going to say she was probably one of the most famous columnists ever, in
Yeah.
terms of humor writing. And she captured the foibles of family life in a way that people related. And my mom had cut out her columns and put them on the refrigerator door, and so that happened in many, many families. And if you read her
Well,
writing today, it still resonates. It's still universal.
okay, so it brings me back to my mom too. Perhaps my mom and Irma Bombeck were a little bit of the same age or from the same generation, I'm thinking. Because was she not middle-aged when she rose to fame?
Yeah, she was a mother. I mean, she had when she rose to fame, she was in her 30s, I believe. I'm gonna have to go back and
Was
kind
she
of look
not
at that. Yeah, but
okay.
she
Good.
her she immediately was picked up by I think it was Newsday Syndicate after she
Wow.
started writing her column for the local newspaper. And
Right, right.
her editor believed in her and sent it in to the syndicate, and she was picked up. And but she would write her columns in her bedroom, kind of. Her husband had made like a cedar plank kind of a desk, and she would just bang
Mhm.
out her columns on a typewriter there while the kids were in
Wow.
school. It was amazing.
Wow. Wow.
And she
Wow.
and sh and she did not
So
believe that motherhood was a religion or a religious experience. I think that's why so many women related to her. We love our kids, but it is not
yeah.
always a religious experience.
Right, right. Well, I think if you look at Instagram, and I'm an Instagram fan, if you look
Yeah,
at Instagram and you see a lot of these younger women who are just now having babies, your celebrities or your
right.
near celebrities, and they kind of act like they're the first women to ever have babies, and it's just like, whatever. And I'm like, ladies, you are not the first one who's
You're
had
not the first
babies.
one's gone through this.
Yeah, exactly. But then one of them was being praised at being, to say, well, being a mother is not always the aura of being a Madonna and perfection.
Right.
Some days your child is going to, what did somebody say? Rocket vomit. Well,
Yes, projectile vomit.
your child, and you're not going to always understand your baby, and you're going to be frustrated, and
Right.
I mean, it's life, it's real life,
It's life. It's
that,
real
but that
life.
doesn't mean you give up, but I think probably that real life component is what made women lean towards her, and that was during a time frame where we were still not we're so-called enlightened right now.
Right.
That was during the time where still it was kind of like, you're a mom and you got to be this way and you got to be that
Right.
way, and
And she
certainly
said,
can't.
I want more. I want more than that. And
Right.
she went out and got it. And her husband was very, very supportive of her.
She sure did.
And
Yes, but
but she also worked for the Equal Rights Amendment. So
yeah.
it
Okay.
failed. She said, she wanted to have on her tombstone, I got Missouri, but she didn't get Missouri.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And this is just bringing back, like I said, it's bringing back so many memories because, again, I believe my mother has passed. She died in 1996, but I believe my mother read her columns. We had
Uh-huh.
have a local paper here. She was in there, of course. She
Right.
was on TV as a guest
She was
person
on
on
she was on Good
shows.
Morning America for like
Yes.
11
Yes.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was just everywhere, very, very famous, and and all of her. How can one access her works?
Well, the university has now cataloged all of her work. We're digitizing the columns right now.
Oh, great.
But in the University of Dayton archives, and then we'll have some things online as well. We actually
Okay.
just this year received all of her work. Um,
Wow.
so it was it's been cataloged, and if you go to the University of Dayton website,
Hmm.
you'll be able to Google it and find it. You can make an appointment to go in and look at all the work in the archives. We have a small exhibit that's up now in the library that's going to stay up through October, because that's when we're having the next workshop for the writers who come in from all over the country to view it. And then in 2 years, we're going to do a major exhibit of her work.
Wow. Wow. That is just really important, and I'm telling you, the more you all get that workout and follow through with what you just described, there's going to
Right,
be people like me who were teenagers at the
right,
time, and our moms read her columns.
right.
We're going to come out of the woodwork, and we're going to be, because I just know my mom just really liked her.
Yeah,
I cannot, of course, I can't ask her, but I just remember my mom liking her.
sure.
So yeah, definitely when you get all of that information out, there's going to be, I predict, a flood of people to come back and say, I remember that name,
I
Erma
remember
Bombeck.
that name. Yeah. I think it's going to introduce her to a new generation,
Yes.
which is already happening, because there's a one-woman play called Erma Bombeck at Wit's End that's playing around the country. And
Oh,
right now, I mean, it's been playing the last few years,
okay.
and and it's doing really, really well. And then with our
Wow.
workshop, we through the generosity of our alumni association, give full scholarships to University of Dayton students. So we have 20 students who come every time. They haven't heard of her. So we're
Right.
introducing her
Right.
to them. And the Bombeck family is there. So
Yeah.
all her children come back to every workshop, and it's a love fest. It's an Irma love fest.
Wow. Wow. Now, one more thing about Irma. I seem to remember when she died, and I thought at the time, now again, I was young, so our perception of time when we're young, you think of people as being so much older.
Yeah,
At the time, if somebody was 50 at the time when I was a
right.
teenager, it was like, oh my gosh, they're
I
so
know.
old. You know, but I felt like she died, to our human terms, or young. I felt like
Yes,
she died rather.
she had a inherited a kidney disease, and
Mm.
she did not use her celebrity to try to move herself up the list to get a kidney,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
she died of complications from a kidney transplant.
Oh,
She had had breast cancer years before and
okay.
survived
Okay.
that, and that she was only 69 when she died.
Yeah. 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 And to me now, with the revolution of time and my
Yeah.
age, 69 is not, I don't see
No,
that as being,
no.
a
She
lot.
was still writing her column 3 times a week
Yes.
when she died.
Yes. 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 So definitely, I do believe a new generation needs to know of Erma Bombeck.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't wait to access the information myself. So, our third tier is to talk about the workshop. And you said it's held every 2 years.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so, who is invited? How do you get to come to the workshop? Is it by invitation only? Is
Well, I mean, the attendees,
it
we
a
open up
purchase workshop? And
yeah,
go ahead.
we open up registration, and it typically has sold out very quickly. It's a little bit slower this time. I
Mm,
mean, I think there's still some caution with COVID, but
yeah.
we will do an in-person workshop in October unless something, really, horrendous happens that we have to turn it
Right.
virtual. We did 2 years ago turn it virtual. We had to do that. So now we're
Yes.
back on the, in-person workshop with a small virtual package. So you can tune into the keynote talks and what we call Pitchabpalooza, where people pitch book concepts to, um, a panel of judges, including the agents.
Oh,
So there are two options. So I guess you can call it hybrid this year. It's October
mhm.
20th to the 22nd. We do still have
Okay.
openings, and it's a 3-day event. It opens on a Thursday night, and we're going to open with Kathy Geiswhite, who is the cartoonist for Kathy, the comic
Yeah,
strip. Yeah,
yeah,
she's fantastic, and so
yeah.
she's gonna open the workshop, and then we're gonna close on Saturday night with Lorraine Newman, who was one of the original cast members of Saturday Night Live.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, in there, we also have Dion Flynn, who is an in-person, he's he does improv, and he was on Jimmy
Okay.
Kimmel like 50 sometimes playing Barack Obama. So that's kind of his claim. I'm sure you've seen him. I mean,
Yes.
he's great. So it's
Wow.
just, so we got 5 keynote speakers. We got Bruce Cameron and Catherine Michon. Bruce has written all the books about dogs, A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Dirty Home,
Oh,
and some of them have been turned into motion pictures, and his wife is a
yeah.
screenwriter working with him. And then a local writer, Katrina Kittle, who has written a number of novels and is just an incredibly inspirational person. So those are our keynoters, and then we've got workshops in between all of those on everything from the crafter writing to humor writing to marketing to using TikTok to market your books,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all those
yeah.
kinds of things. So it's a fun 3 days. We end with a attendee stand up comedy show, on Saturday night, and we just laugh. We laugh for 3 days, and we leave inspired. So you get the nuts
Wow.
and bolts of the craft of writing in the workshop, and then the keynote talks leave you either laughing or just so inspired to go out and do something.
Wow. I am just floored by the all that you've said to me today. It's just been an amazing interview to find out all of these things. And I'm hoping this resonates with my audience as well. And podcast show notes and in the description box beneath the YouTube video, we're going to have all of your contact
Great.
information, the links to the Erma Bombeck Writers Workshop. Excuse me, Erma Bombeck. Right now, I'm not feeling too well. I'm not sure if I said that right. Erma Bombeck
Yeah.
Writers Workshop. We'll have that linked below so that you can buy tickets, whether hybrid or on site.
Right.
And also any other things, any other links you might want to give us. We certainly want to be able to connect with the writings that's going to be on the University of Dayton's
Sure.
website of Erma Bombeck. So we
Sure.
want all of that.
Okay.
So definitely we'll have that for our listeners and viewers about this totally exciting thing. I'm just about to burst out of my seat because I can't wait to read Erma Bombeck's writing. And so with that, I will say, Teri, it was such a great pleasure to talk to you today. I
Thank you.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Yes. So definitely, as I will repeat, we're going to have all of Teri's contact information, the Erma Bombeck Writers Workshop information down below, and I'm sure you're going to love seeing it. Thanks again, Teri.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the Bookaholic podcast. We appreciate your support. Remember to subscribe to the podcast, follow us on Instagram at True Bookaholic. You can also email us at readingjunkie@book-a-holic.com. Don't forget to support your local library and independent bookstores.